description for advanced, I looked it up today because I was like, what exactly does it mean? But the description that Kim has on our email is just focusing on one specific like part of a pose or something like that. Can't remember the exact, but I had this idea that I was like, ooh, I would love to focus on the medial glute, because I feel like that's a muscle that a lot of people don't know how to activate or don't have awareness of. And it's something I think personally that like changes the way you kind of engage in different poses. So I'm just gonna start with a little explanation. So it's not your glute maximus. It's not like your big butt muscles. It's like right here. So it's like, if you've ever heard me say, like, in a chair pose, put corn forks in the sides of your hips. So it's like, instead of like hips going out, I don't know if you can tell the difference of like hips going out. It's like you're like putting a little corn fork and you're engaging these muscles. When you're doing a forward fold, like a wide-legged forward fold especially, instead of just sticking your butt out and folding forward, you want to engage these muscles, put those corn forks in, so you're feeling a squeeze there as you come forward. So we're going to go over like little exercises to help you feel those muscles engage, and then in different poses just explore feeling into your medial glute and learning how to activate it, learning at least a little bit more awareness of it. So
okay,
sound good?
This sounds great.
Love it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. So I'm gonna spotlight myself and then I'll mute y'all's. You guys are really good about muting yourselves, but just in case anyone hops on and they're not muted. My mom comes to my other classes and she like is synonymous for just getting on and not muting herself. Okay. So let's go ahead, and this is a kind of different way to start. But let's go ahead and just lay on our right side. So just lay down on your right side. Prop yourself up on your forearm. Try not to sink into your shoulder, but push down through your forearm. So you're lifting up out of your shoulder. Bend your knees like you're in a fetal position. And then bring your left hand or your fingertips to your outer glute, the outside of your hip, and just start to open and close your knees like a clamshell. That's all you're doing. And that is engaging your medial glute. You might not feel it at first, but after a while, you'll start to feel that little bit of heat build right in the outside of your hip. And if you want, you can even lift your feet up. This will intensify it. It might be too much, so don't force anything. You can hover your feet above the ground. Keep that movement going, opening and closing your hips and engaging that muscle right in the outside of your left hip, your left outer glute. Keep some awareness of your breath. So I didn't really cue any breath yet, but you guys are good at breathing. So just make sure you're breathing deeply. Maybe some open mouth sighs. You can see I have my hand on my hip. I like that as kind of a stabilization, so everything else stays still and the movement's just coming from your hip joint. You should start to feel some heat if you're not already. Make sure the inner edges of your feet are together, or at least your big toes keep touching the inner edges of your big toes. And then like go ahead and lift as high as you can and just take little baby pulses. See if you can open, open, open. Feel that muscle on the outside of your hip. Maybe you're starting to feel it so much you're like, I'm gonna get a Charlie horse. That's it. All right, let it go. And then from here, I'm gonna stretch it. I need a stretch, so probably you need a stretch. So just sit up, and then your right thigh is already kind of against the ground. Just swing your left leg around and adjust your hips. So setting up for a twist, a seated twist. Left foot outside of right knee. Left foot outside of right knee. Sit up tall. And then left arm to the sky, breathe in. As you exhale, twist to your left. Gaze back over your left shoulder. Left hand comes down behind you. You can use your right arm however you want to. So I like to just keep my hand against my knee. Some people like to latch their elbow outside of their knee. So your variation, and make sure your breath is big. You should feel that stretch now on your outer left hip, that place we were just working. Medial glute. Okay, very bottom of your next exhalation, let it go. Unwind your upper body, take both legs out in front of you. So I'm facing towards you guys. You can be facing towards the top of your mat or whatever works, it doesn't really matter. Okay. We'll take some windshield wipers, some seated windshield wipers. So make sure feet are wider than your hips. And then just side to side, back and forth. Feeling into the mobility of your hips. If you want a challenge here, so this just feels good and therapeutic to me. So please feel free to stay here. But if you want a challenge, you can lift your arms and reach them in the opposite direction of your legs. That's hard. You have to connect to your core for sure. Core for sure. So back and forth a couple more times. And then let's lay on our left side. So on your left side this time, fetal position with your legs, left forearm on the ground, but try not to sink into your left shoulder. So this is me passively just sinking into my shoulder, push into your forearm, lift up. So there's space between your ear and your shoulder and you're supportive. Fetal position, or your feet can hover. And then start to open and close like a clamshell would open and close. You can experiment with how much of a bend you bring into your knees. And remember, we're going for that engagement of our medial glute. So not our glute maximus, not those big juicy butt muscles, but the ones a little bit above and right underneath. So they're really, for whatever reason, pretty much biggest reason is because the glute maximus just takes over. Because it's bigger and stronger. We have trouble engaging and activating this glute medius unless it's a movement that just is targeting it. So this one is targeting it. So after a while, after a few rounds, like you guys can tell, this isn't the hardest exercise you've ever done, but it starts to get really tiring. That heat starts to build. Your glute medius is starting to feel it because it probably doesn't work very often. And then if you want a little more at any time, just lift your feet, stay out of your shoulder, take about 5 more. I feel like we did a ton on the other side. I could be wrong though. Your top hand might rest on your hip and just stabilize your hips. So I'll just kind of leave it up to you, you guys. Woo. Eventually, remember, we're going to open and just take those little pulses. Little pulses, up, up, up. Up, feel the burn and breathe into it. Okay, now let it go. Remember, sit up and then just swing your top leg around. Adjust your hips. So you're probably kind of facing towards the long edge of your mat, but you can adjust if you want to. Right foot outside of left thigh. So right foot outside of left thigh. Hug your knee in, sit up tall. Reach your right arm up. Inhale here, sit up taller. And then exhale, twist over your right shoulder. Right hand comes down behind you. You can do whatever you want with your left arm, left hand. Spine stays long, shoulders are broad, collarbones broad. Breathe all the way down into your belly. Breathe all the way down into your outer right hip, that medial glute. Woo. Maybe you're like, hello, nice to meet you, medial glute. I haven't noticed you before. Just kidding. Take one last round. And then unwind, uncross your legs. Nice little shake out. Windshield wipers when you're ready, side to side. All right, my friends, guess what? Now we're gonna come all the way down into our backs. So come down onto your back and just rest for a moment with your feet together, knees apart. If that feels like too much and you still feel like you kind of need to stretch your outer hips, then do the opposite. Constructive rest pose. Feet apart, knees together. And I'm gonna go with that actually because that just feels good to me. So you do whatever feels good to you. Bring your arms just to rest out to your sides, or one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Close your eyes. And now we're going to take a moment. I usually do this at the very beginning of our practice, but we're going to do it now. We're just going to take a moment to tune into our breath, to feel our physical body. Maybe feel that new awareness that you're already starting to notice in your hips, your outer hips, your medial glutes. Feel your breath rising and falling, your belly rising and falling. Next time you inhale, fill up as big as you can and hold at the top. And then when you are ready, just big open mouth sigh. Ah. Good. Twice more like that. Great big inhale, fill up. Hold, 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 hold. Extra sip of air if you can. And then open your mouth and release, let it go. Ah. Last one, biggest inhale you've taken all day. Pause. Extra little sip. And then big, huge open mouth sigh. Ah. Start to drop into your Ujjayi breath now. So in and out through your nose by way of the back of your throat. So you're really feeling it and hearing it as it moves through the back of your throat. It's like a gentle whisper, an ocean wave. Keep the awareness of your breath, your connection to your breath. And everybody now, if you're not already there, feet together, knees apart. Arms out to your sides, palms face down. And don't worry about getting your feet super close to your upper body. So if it feels better, let your feet be a little further away. Exhale, press your heels together. And as you inhale, see if you can lift your butt up, squeeze your outer glutes, squeeze, 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 lift your hips, lift your hips. Take one more deep breath. Imagine somebody's pressing your knees down and you're trying to lift your hips up higher. End of your exhale, calm down. Maybe flutter your knees a little bit, or if you need to, you can even lift your knees up and hug them in, rock it out side to side. So take just a moment. We're going to do 3 rounds just like that. This is another exercise where you want to start to engage, activate, feel, become aware of your medial glutes, those muscles on your outer hips. So feet together, knees apart. Exhale all your air out. Press your heels firmly together. Inhale, lift your hips. Lift them as high as you can. This is flexibility as well through the front of your hips. So if you can't lift that high, there's multiple elements to this. Don't get discouraged. Squeeze your outer glutes. Lift higher, one last breath. And then let it go. Lower down. Take a moment, flutter your knees, or maybe even draw your knees in, little rock. We've got one more round. So as you are ready, next breath or two. Supta Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees apart. Arms down by your sides, palms face down, press your heels together, exhale. Inhale, lift your hips up, squeeze your outer glutes, your medial glutes. See if you can feel them engage. Maybe you've never felt them before. Squeeze, 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 lift your hips, lift your hips. Knees towards the ground, like somebody's pressing them towards the ground, and then your hips lift higher, so you're pressing up against that person. Take one, that invisible person. One last round. Bring it down, lift your knees up, draw your knees in, and rock it out. So a few rocks just kind of side to side, or maybe you even want to take your knees in little circles. You can keep your knees together or take them apart, totally up to you. You take them apart, you can kind of get more into your hips. And then eventually, my friends, we're gonna rock and roll forward and back, come all the way up to hands and knees. If you don't want to rock and roll, you can get there however you would like. So if you're going with me, few rocks, few rolls, it's like those muscles right along either side of your spine. It's like you're massaging those out, give them a nice little massage. And then eventually rock up, cross your ankles, come forward to hands and knees, tabletop position. All right, cat-cow undulation. So inhale, lift the crown of your head, lift your tailbone. Exhale, round your spine, curl in, hollow out your belly. So this is a movement that most everybody can do, at least to some extent. And once we kind of get it, we become really robotic. We just go back and forth without feeling or kind of seeing if there's any other mobility we can find. So take your next about 5 breaths. You can stick with your cat-cows, or you can get more creative, take your hips in big circles, whatever you would like. But see if you can find more mobility in the middle of your spine. So cat-cows, we really move through our upper and our lower back, but our mid-back, it doesn't do a whole lot of movement. So see if you can start to find just a little more mobility there. And then let's say in your next 3 to 5 breaths, downward facing dog, no rush. Once you're back in your dog pose, big spacious breaths to feel around. So maybe you're feeling around by moving outside, pedaling out your heels, shifting your weight. Maybe you're just feeling inside. There's little movements, little adjustments that you really can't even see on the outside, but you can feel them. So for example, just where are you placing the weight in your feet? Where are you placing the weight in your hands and your fingers? Where are you over engaging, maybe through your face? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you tightening up even through your forehead? Are you focusing too hard? I find that I'm focusing too hard a lot. Take 1 or 2 more breaths into your down dog. And then, my friends, just slowly curl your hands to the back of your yoga mat and find yourself in a forward fold. So you'll be in a forward fold at the back of your mat. All the weight in your feet, little or big bend in your knees. And if you want, you can take a ragdoll pose, kind of sway or bob or bounce. Let your head be heavy, connect to your center. Take a couple more rounds. Notice where you are placing the weight in your feet. Notice what happens if you change where you're placing the weight in your feet. So just curiosity. Next time you breathe in, come to a halfway lift position. And exhale, bow and fold. Again, like that, halfway lift. And release, exhale. And this time, all the way to stand. So press into your feet, lead with your heart, take it all the way up. Reach up and stretch. Hands to heart, exhale. Blow with your breath. Inhale, high mountain. Exhale, slow dive. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, plant your hands, start to crawl your hands to the top of your space. Find plank or modified plank. Inhale at the top of your push-up, push the ground away, and exhale to slowly lower down. Strong arms, strong belly. Inhale, find a back bend of your choice and give yourself 2 or 3 breaths. You want to find a couple different variations, go for it. If you want to gaze side to side, go for it. And then eventually just a tabletop position. All right. So tabletop, hands and knees. Pivot on your right knee, so your right foot comes to the outside of your mat. Reach your left leg back, left arm up. So right here, we want to feel engagement through our outer right hip, our medial glute. So by pressing your hips forward, maybe you start to feel that muscle engage, and you might have to kind of scoot your knee around, adjust your knee. See if you can start to feel your outer hip kind of engage. Maybe it helps if you even float your foot up. You have to use that muscle to help balance a little bit more. So feel your outer right hip. You want to feel the muscle there. Sometimes it even helps more. You can feel it more as you take the pose deeper. So please don't force it, but if you want to, bend your left knee, reach back, grab hold of your foot. Now, really work your hips forward so you're using your right medial glute, your outer glute. Press your hips forward, open your heart. You're not kicking your foot up, you're kicking your foot straight back. So if you kick your foot up, you lose that engagement of your medial glute. Kick foot back, let heart look up. One last round. Good job, my friends. Let it go. Come back to hands and knees. Okay, from hands and knees, right leg straight out to the right, toes face forward. And then left arm straight out to the left. Inhale here, reach it up as high as you can. Right here, pause as you press down with your right foot. See if you can feel your outer right glute fire. If you can't, you might play around with moving your right foot forward or back. Make sure it's coming straight out from your hip. Heel straight out from hip. Take one more inhale. Exhale, thread your left arm underneath. So reach, reach, reach. Good job. And then any way you want to work this pose, you're going to lose that engagement of your outer glute as you're folding forward. So don't worry about it. Or I should say as you're folding forward, as you're threading it through. If you want to keep the engagement, you can really work the press of your right foot down, kind of pulling your hips back. So totally up to you. No right or wrong. Just feel into this. Breathe into this. Find your own fullest expression or most skillful expression today. Give it about 3 more breaths. Good job. And then if you do happen to have your right hand off of the ground, set it back down. On an inhale, unthread your left arm, reach it out and up. Exhale, left hand down. Pick up your right foot, swing your right toes off the left side of your yoga mat. Gonna pull your hips over to the right as you gaze back over your left shoulder. Breathe into your right side. One more round. And then back to hands and knees. Give yourself a moment. So any little, anything you need to do. I was gonna say any little wardrobe adjustments, if you need a drink, whatever you need, and then back to downward facing dog. Like leggings, you know those leggings where you just feel like you have to pull them up all the time? Okay, from your down dog, inhale your right leg to the sky. So take a moment with your hips square, and then as you open your hip, that's where you're gonna feel your medial glute. So bend your right knee, reach your right knee out and up. You want to feel your outer left hip and your outer right hip fiery. Medial glutes fiery. So that's how you avoid taking it with your shoulders. You engage your medial glutes. Use them to open. Take one more big inhale. So like it's opening that clamshell, just like we did at the beginning of class. Exhale, step your right foot to the top of your mat. Okay, warrior 2 is where we're going. So back heel pivots down, cartwheel your arms up. And guess what we're going to use to wrap our right butt cheek underneath us? Medial glute. So wrap your right butt cheek. See if you can start to feel that glute muscle. Not your big juicy maximus, it's the medius. I know it's so confusing, but start to just feel into it, get curious about it. It's not something you have to get like 100% today. It's just something you're bringing awareness to. So you're using your medial glute, you're squeezing your outer right butt cheek, you're using it to track your right knee open. Next time you inhale, reach forward, forward, forward. Don't lose the engagement of your outer right glute. Tip it over, side angle. Stay open through your heart. So really using the engagement of your outer right glute to open your heart up, to keep your right knee tracking towards your pinky toe rather than collapsing in. So perfect place to stay. If you're like, this is good, I want to stay here, totally fine. Otherwise, we're going to move all the way up into our balancing half moon. So great place to use a block if you've got one at home. You can also use a water bottle, something like that. Woo. Reach forward, doesn't have to be graceful, as you can see. Back foot floats off the ground. Now to open your hips, so I see a lot of people do this pose with kind of closed hips, and they're just reaching their arm up and taking their gaze up, but their hips are totally still closed off. So you want to open up your hips by squeezing your outer right butt cheek. Outer right butt cheek squeezes, hips open. So you're not sticking your butt out, you're pressing your hips forward, your left leg is strong, heart is open. Maybe you even move into that bound variation. Woo. Keep pressing, squeezing through your outer right glute. And one last round of breath. We're going to meet back in a warrior 2, everybody. Okay. Parallel your feet, straighten your legs. Wardrobe adjustment, as I was saying. Inhale, arms to the sky. See if you can, as you're just reaching up, feel those muscles on the outside of your hips engage. It's subtle. You're just really squeezing. Like I said, it's like you're putting corn forks. When you eat corn on the cob, you're putting those corn forks in the sides of your hips. So instead of your butt just being lazy, it's like, ooh, plug it in. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, stick your butt out. Keep those corn forks as you stick your butt out, reach your heart forward, and then you'll eventually lose them as you fold. Now you're focusing on just engaging through the front of your thighs, your quads, lifting your butt as high as you can. There might be a little bit of engagement still in your outer hips, but not quite so much. And then just focus on your big, deep breaths. If you want to move around, you're welcome to. And if after this class you're like, I'm still confused what muscle Katie was talking about today, just go and like Google glute medius. And then you'll see exactly the muscle where it is. Take your last couple of rounds. And then halfway lift position, fingertips on the ground. Walk your hands to the top of your mat and rotate your toes to the top of your mat. So you're in a low lunge. And just step your back foot forward. You're in a forward fold. Halfway lift. Lengthen your spine. Breathe in. Exhale, let it go. Root through your feet. Take it all the way up to stand. Take your arms to the sky. Hands to your heart. Okay. Pause and grab a block. I think most of you have a block at home. If you don't have a block, something of the like, or something you can put in between your inner thighs and just squeeze your inner thighs against it. So block on the thinnest width, thinnest setting in between your inner thighs, and your feet about hips width distance apart. All of your toes face forward. So you don't want to be like this. You don't want to be like this. Parallel through your feet. Squeeze your block with your inner thighs. And then imagine you're a Pez dispenser and you want to push your Pez forward just by using your inner thighs. So you start to use your inner thighs to push your Pez dispenser or your Pez forward. It's just a little tiny bit. Okay? Hands to your low back. Keep pushing your Pez forward. Roll your shoulders back. Keep squeezing your block. And then puff up through your chest. Take your head back. Squeeze your block. Push your Pez forward. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Curl open. Shoulders back. Elbows point back. Take one more round of breath. This shouldn't be hurting you. You should be able to breathe deep. And inhale through neutral. Exhale. Now do the opposite. Try to push your Pez towards the wall behind you. Stick your butt out all the way down into your fold. Now you're still pushing your Pez out. Use your inner thighs. So if you're like, what does she mean? Push my Pez out. Your block is your Pez. Your legs are the Pez dispenser. And you're using your inner thighs to push your block either one way or the other. So if you don't know how to do that, take your hand right now in your forward fold to the front of your block. And as you squeeze with your inner thighs, just literally push your block back. You want to learn how to create that action by using your inner thighs, not using your block in your hand. So that's the same action you're trying to create. Maybe take your block out now and just see if you can feel your inner thighs. So it's like they're spiraling back and your sit bones are broadening. These are like subtle adjustments. That's why this is an advanced practice. Seriously though, halfway lift, breathe in. Exhale, plant your hands, feet to the back of your yoga mat. Take your vinyasa however you would like to. No hurry at all. We will meet in a child's pose. And I think it feels really nice sometimes in child's pose, just to kind of swivel your hips side to side. Tabletop, hands and knees. Okay, moving into modified side plank. So this time, left knee is your foundation. Pivot, your left foot comes to the outside of your mat. Right leg reaches back, right arm reaches up. Now, as long as you're sticking your butt out behind you, your left medial glute is not going to fire. So you want to use your left medial glute, your outer hip, your medial glute. Press your hips forward. Press them forward, press them forward. Maybe even pull your right leg up. Right leg is strong, powerful. Final option, only if you want to take it. Right knee bends, reach back, grab hold of your foot. Keep squeezing through your outer left glute, your medial glute. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So your right foot, if you've got hold of it, it's not kicking up, it's kicking back. If you're kicking up, you're losing the medial glute action. Open your heart, let it look up at the sky. One last huge breath. And slowly let it go. Hands and knee. Take your left leg straight out to the left, toes face forward, heel comes straight out from your hip. Right arm out to the right, and then right arm up to the sky. So if it's mobility that's limiting you here, it might help to come up to your left fingertips. Push down through your left foot. So like you're really rooting your left foot down, and then use that to reach and open up more. Feel your left outer glute, your medial glute firing. Take one more big inhale. Exhale, thread your right arm through. Reach, 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 and then rest. Big deep breaths. So if you want to still play with that engagement, you can press into your left foot and kind of take your hips back a little bit. You won't have it. It's not as much, but you can still find a little connection to it even here. And if anything I'm saying, you guys is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's okay. Sometimes you just gotta take what works and leave the rest behind. Take about 3 more rounds of breath. And then left hand down if your left hand happens to be lifted. On an inhale, unthread your right arm, reach it out and up one last time, see if you can feel your outer left glute fire. And then right hand to the ground. Pick up your left foot, swing your left toes off the right side of your mat. Lean a little bit over to your left as you gaze back, or maybe even gaze under your right armpit. So breathe into your left side, stretch your left side. A lot of people say, I don't understand what I'm supposed to feel here. To me, this feels so good. So get curious, bend one or both elbows, rock forward, rock back, last round. And then back to tabletop. And then back to down dog. Walk it out for a moment. Find your breath. All right. Inhale your left leg to the sky. And then, so feel your square hips. Start to work your left hip open by engaging through your medial glutes. So bend your left knee, and just like your clamshell, open it up. Outer right glute and outer left glute are both engaging. That's how you're keeping this in your hips rather than in your shoulders. A lot of people start to dump into their right shoulder because they're not using their medial glute, so they need to get the mobility somewhere else. So see if you can start to feel that engagement in your outer hips, active through your left toes. One last inhale. Exhale, left knee to your nose, round, hollow out, empty out, then step forward ever so softly while your 2 back heel pivots down, and then rise up. Settle in. Use your outer left butt cheek muscles, those medial glutes, to wrap your butt cheek underneath you and track your left knee towards your pinky toe rather than letting it fall in. Squeeze your outer right glutes as well. And try to keep a nice neutral pelvis. Inhale, reach forward, side angle pose. So tip it over. And then you can absolutely choose to stay in side angle for as long as you want to, or the entire time if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll move into a half moon. So maybe you want to take your block. I've got my block now, I'm going to take it with me. Reach your left hand forward, float your back leg up. Use your outer glutes to open here. So outer left glute, especially your supporting leg. If you want to move into the bind, go for it. Remember, same thing as when you're on your hands and your knees. You don't want to stick your butt out. You want to squeeze your outer left butt cheek. Kick your right foot back. Let your heart look up. Last big breath wherever you are at. See if you can come back to a warrior 2, soft landing. And then straighten your front leg, parallel your feet, make any adjustments needed. Arms to the sky, inhale. Squeeze through your outer glutes, put your corn forks in, and exhale, dive down. Your butt sticks out, heart goes forward, and then all the way down into your wide-legged fold, anywhere you want to take it. Engage through the front of your quads, and there is some engagement still in your outer glutes if you can feel it. I'm gonna sound like a broken record by the end of this class. Last couple breaths. Find a halfway lift. Breathe in. If you want to feel your medial glutes engage here, see if you can take your hands off the ground, reach them out to both sides. So you have to engage through your outer hips, your core to hold you. One more inhale. And then hands to the ground or fingertips to the ground. Walk your hands forward, low lunge. Step your back foot forward, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Root through your feet, rise up. Arms reach up. Hands to heart, exhale. Okay, bring your hands to your hips. If you want to, just for funsies, add another element of balance. Only if you have a block that's like kind of like a regular block, there's nothing weird going on with it. Like my other block has holes in it. Like you're like my one looks like this. So if you have a regular block, just option if you want, lowest setting to stand on it. So this is just gonna make sure that your foot, for the most part, just stays in one place, doesn't move around. Balancing on our right foot first. And so the cool thing, if you're on a block, you can just kind of lift your toes. And I want you to focus on with your right leg, not letting your hip do this, but hugging in. So you don't have to be balanced on your block. It just helps. It just gives an extra element. So I don't even have to lift my left leg that high yet. So hugging in, that's your medial glute. Hugging in rather than kind of sinking into that hip. And then lift, start to lift higher. And as you lift your knee higher, make sure you didn't lose it. You're not sinking into your hip. Hopefully it's become stronger, your outer hip. And then see if you can keep it and start to open and close your knee. And you're welcome to use a wall, but just focus on this standing leg, medial glute engagement. Stay rooted through the inner edge of your standing foot. Squeeze through your outer hip. Don't let that change as you open and close. You're using your outer glute to open. Good job, you guys. Let it go. Shake it out. Sometimes I like to take these little swings. Just be careful with your low back. A little bit of core engagement if you do that. Okay. This is so fun. Okay, we'll do the other side. So if you're standing up on a block, left foot on your block, or just make sure you get the other foot. And then without even picking up your opposite foot that much, just find that engagement to your medial glute. So rather than sinking into this hip, so I can do this entire thing with my glute unengaged. It doesn't have to engage. It doesn't have to fire. That's why we're doing really slow transition. So as you start to lift, you feel your outer hip, it's squeezing in, it's hugging in. And you'll also feel your inner thigh hugging in. So it's helping hug towards midline. It's helping you balance. Start to lift your knee higher and higher as you're ready. Make sure you don't lose the engagement of your outer left hip. Maybe hands to your hips. Maybe hands to your heart. Wherever you'd like, and start to open and close. So as you open and close, it's going to be really tempting. Kind of go ski wampus through your hip. Keep squeezing your outer glutes. Squeeze your medial glutes. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. If you're using a wall or something to balance, a chair or anything like that, awesome, great job. Focus on your outer glutes, open and close, open and close. Yee. Good job, you guys. And hold open on this one just for a minute. See if you can feel both outer glutes squeeze. Bring it back and let it go. Take it out. Insert your blocks to the side. If you want a little bit of kicking forward and back. And then just mountain pose. Top of your mat, arms down by your sides. Find your breath. Close your eyes and feel yourself standing with awareness just from the inside of your body. Big, huge inhale. Fill up as big as you can. And then when you're ready, open mouth, exhale. Ujjayi breath, slow. Reach up, inhale. Slow dive, exhale. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, plant your hands, feet back, vinyasa, your own way. Meet again in child's pose. After a few breaths in your child's pose, downward facing dog. Inhale your right leg to the sky. Pigeon pose, right shin forward, set your body down. So this one, we're not looking to engage our outer hip, we're looking to stretch our outer hip. So we're hugging the femur bone, or we're plugging the femur bones, is a better word, into the sockets, pulling energetically towards midline. Keep pulling your right hip back as you take your heart forward. And then if you want to go deeper, just kind of scoot your back knee back a little further. Your back inner thigh, your left inner thigh, it's spiraling in and up towards the ceiling. Big deep breaths. And about 2 or 3 more. Side out your mouth anytime. And then let's start to find our way back to a 3-legged dog. So start to lift your upper body. Tuck your back toes, take your right leg back and up. Open your right, well, if you want, first you can give your right leg a little shake out, and then open your right hip. So feel your medial glutes here. Option only if you want to flip your dog, and you want to use your left medial glute to lift your hips. Reach your right arm forward, reach your heart forward. So a lot of times people kind of let their butt sag here because they can't engage that medial glute. They don't know how to lift your hips. Use your medial glute one last round. Good job. Downward facing dog and walk it out. If you want, you can take a quick vinyasa. You can take a couple rounds of cat-cows. I'm just sitting back in the hero's pose. And then walk it out in your down dog. Ujjayi breath just a little bit longer. Left leg high, breathe in. Pigeon pose, left shin forward. Left knee nice and wide, hug towards midline. Keep pulling your left hip back as you take your heart forward and down. Send your breath down into your hips. About 3 or 4 more rounds on this side. I'm going to leave it up to you, but when you feel pretty much even, start to find your way back to your 3-legged down dog once again. Give your left leg that nice little shake out. Open your hip. Feel your medial glutes engaging here, or flip your dog and really feel your medial glute engage, especially your outer right medial glute. Both of them are engaging, but most of your weight, if you're in wild thing, is in your right leg. So you want to use your right medial glute. Lift your hips, reach forward, heart forward. One last big deep breath. Back to down dog, walk it out. Take one final vinyasa if you're in the mood, or just come straight down to child's pose when you're ready. Awesome work today, you guys. And then after you give yourself a few rounds in child's pose, go ahead and find your way all the way down onto your back. And then once you're on your back, just a few rounds of windshield wipers. Side to side, nice and wide through your feet. So feet are wider than your hips. Okay, one last little exercise. Grab hold of your block one last time. You don't necessarily need one, so if you don't have one, you're gonna be okay. Same positioning, inner thighs, smallest setting, smallest width. Set up for bridge. So feet on the ground, feet are hips width distance, all toes face forward. And your heels are pretty much straight down from your knees, or just ever so slightly in front of your knees, not much. Arms by your sides, squeeze your block with your inner thighs, and then slowly peel your spine up. As you lift your hips, keep really squeezing your block and see if you can feel your outer hips engaging, those corn forks pressing into your outer hips. If you want, you can work your shoulders underneath you more, maybe even interlace your fingers. Squeeze your block. Toes face directly forward. The weight is primarily in your heels and the inner edges of your feet, outer hips, your medial glutes. So it's not your glute maximus. You're not squeezing your big butt muscles. You're just engaging right on the outside and slightly up. So there's some support there. Take 3 more rounds. Keep squeezing your block. Keep squeezing your outer hips. And just on your own, find your way down. See if you can do it really mindfully. So vertebra by vertebra. And then take one last round of those windshield wipers. Remove your block side to side with your knees. And if it feels good to stay on one side for a few rounds of breath, hold there. Even bring your opposite foot to the outside of your knee. Go for it. And then when you're ready, my friends, happy baby pose. Rock it out. Extend one or both legs. Take as many breaths in your happy baby as you want to. And take any last stretches or finishing poses that you want to. And just start to work your way into your final relaxation, your Shavasana, whenever you are ready. You settle in, just let your breath finally become effortless. So you're not doing anything to manipulate it. Just letting your body breathe you. And this is just a thought as you settle in. It is the smallest habits. It's how you spend your mornings, how you talk to yourself, what you read, what you watch, who you share your energy with, who has access to you. It's the smallest habits that will change your life. So the smallest habits, like showing up for your practice week after week, being with yourself, connecting to your body and your breath, taking time to slow down, be more present. So give yourself these last couple moments to just do nothing. Just soak in all the energy, all the efforts of your practice today. Shavasana. Take a deep breath in. Take an extra sip. And then open mouth, sigh. Start to wiggle through fingers, toes. And whenever you're ready, find your way into a little fetal position on either side. I love this transition of slowly coming back into the world rather than just like abruptly going back into your day. Rolling onto your side, letting it kind of settle and soak in, and then slowly, mindfully find your way up into a seat to intentionally and symbolically just close our practice. It's just a ritual of closing our practice with intention rather, again, than just going right back into our day like nothing happened. So hands to your heart, close your eyes, and just bow your head to your heart and acknowledge yourself. Acknowledge yourself for showing up, taking time to do your practice. Thank you so much for letting me guide you. The light in me sees and reflects the light in you. Namaste. All right, my friends. Hopefully that wasn't too awful.
That was so good.
It was awesome.
Like next level good.
Wendy gives me so many compliments. It's like I just want to take her with me everywhere so she can just...
No, I don't lie though. I don't lie.
I love you guys. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Katie.
so much.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Loved it.
Mwah.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.